My name is Scott Stanfield, and it may be afternoon or evening, actually, where you're at. If you're like our guest, Prash Kotecha, that's going to be tuning in from London later today, later in the show, just in a couple minutes, actually. So I'm all over the place right now, getting my bearings. But my name is Scott Stanfield, and this is the Modern Longevitarian live show, episode number 69. And I want to say, first of all, thank you for watching on the Spirituality Gone Wild Network and also on LinkedIn. It's such a blessing to be on LinkedIn and be able to have this live show there. And right now, again, 69 episodes. And I want to talk about stress for a second, because that's going to be one of our topics, because Prashs is the CEO of Stress to Success. And stress symptoms, they affect your health, right? Think about epigenetic expression, and you have control over the expression of your genes by the environment that you create. And whether you're in stress or in parasympathetic or sympathetic and parasympathetic, it determines your health. It could be things like it can impact your thinking, or give you a headache, or keep you awake at night, or reduce your productivity at work, or if you're an entrepreneur, at your business that you own. It also, unchecked, can contribute to many health problems such as high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. So living in stress all the time, or majority of the time, can actually be detrimental to your well-being. And that's interesting, because we have the well-being guy on today on the show. So I want to talk about 3 little commercials we have here. Coming up soon, releasing later this week, is going to be the Book of Secrets. That's coming soon. And the Book of Secrets is where the Spirituality Gone Wild co-creators have put together their one or best secret to life. Mine is find yourself and do you. And Mark Twain has this quote. He says that the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figured out why. And so find yourself and do you. And that's super important. Like, for instance, modernlongevitarian.com was purchased 9 years ago this year, right? And 9 years ago, and it was 8.5 years before I actually put a website behind it, a brand, really put it out into the world. And so in the process of finding you may take a decade, may take 8 years, 9 years, those things, but do you at a high level, and you'll never look back and never regret it. I also wrote a book called Outstanding Landing, and I'm giving that away for free. You can go to sleep.strongforlonger.com, or you can just go to strongforlonger.com, and there'll be a pop-up. You can give your email to, and this book will do one of 2 things. It'll help you go to sleep either way. You either be so boring that you'll fall asleep, or B, is going to give you these steps, these 7 steps of what it takes to go to sleep and have an outstanding landing, and then take off and launch the next day. And then the third thing is I am a coach, right? And I teach a different way of living life as a modern longevitarian, and hitting the 8 pillars that start with mindset, hydration, breath. Sleep is the big pillar that carries the most weight. Fuel, which is the food aspect of that. Movement and exercise. Then it also goes into getting uncomfortable, like Wim Hof level hot or cold, and then sauna with heat and what we need with that. And then it goes into connecting with your nature, or with nature, your family, your friends, your community, and those things. So those are the 8 pillars of the modern longevitarian. I'm currently starting a new group, so reach out to me. There's also a coaching page on my website. You can go and read more detail about that. You can send me a private message on whatever platform you're looking at, you're watching this show, and send me a message there, or we can do one-on-one coaching as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to add Prash in here. He is the CEO of Stress to Success and the Wellbeing guy. Prash, welcome to the Modern Longevitarian. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me. Yeah, what an intro. What a description of well-being. What you describe is very close to my heart, and speaks to the heart of everyone. And here's my motto. Here's my thing. My thing is, somebody asked me, what's your thing? What are you all about? And I say, for me, I work with leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, and high achieving professionals harness their number one asset. And that number one asset is themselves, because you're the source of your business. You're the source of your wealth, your health, your friendships, your relationships, how you show up, who you show up to, and what kind of success you get. That's why for me, that passion is to take people from stress to success, discover their inner empire, to create their outer empire.
Right. Absolutely. Because we all have this unique thing, right? We are, you know, there's, a way of delivering. So it's basically whatever package you like. You could listen to someone like me. You could listen to you, right? You could, listen to someone like Simon Sinek or Dave Asprey. You could go down the list. And I know you've been on Brian Rose's show before, right? London Real. And it's like a lot of us are teaching very similar things, but you can find it in a package that resonates with you, right? And that's what I really love about where human enlightenment is going right now, right? We're all starting to teach a lot of these same principles, and but we have these limiting beliefs that hold us back on where we are and what we're doing, because we think, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm not important enough, or that I'm not unique enough, or that somebody may judge me in the wrong way, so you get this fear of fear of other people's opinion and those type of things, right? And so it's
Wow.
really an interesting piece of where we are, is that, but there's a movement of people moving in this direction.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I think that's a reflection of I think can you call it the rude awakening or the realization, whatever you want to call it? It's that thing that people realize that, well, hang on, I can't take my health for granted, and I don't have to rely on just the government or just traditional channels to go and improve my health. I can go and hack my health in a positive way, and I think that consciousness, that need, that awareness is where it's got to start. It's got to start with awareness. And listen, some people are not going to see it because they're just going to carry on drinking themselves silly. They're going to keep smoking. They're going to keep doing the same old thing, never thinking that they're going to be all right, until one day they go to the doctor. You guys call them doctors, GPs. You go to the GP, general practitioner, right? The doctor, and they're going to suddenly like, okay, listen, if you don't do this, this, and this, you're going to die. You're never going to see your kids grow up. And suddenly, now they're worried. They're scared. And that's what happened to me. I had it. It wasn't because I was drinking too much, although I had my own battles with alcohol when in my 20s, but it was because I just pushed myself too hard and to rise up the corporate ladder really badly. I just felt that was my thing. I got to keep up with all my fancy ass friends in London who are driving the fancy cars. I got to show off to my Indian parents because Indian families are like that. They want everybody to be successful, but kids misinterpret that to mean, I got to show the cash and I got to. So I just drove myself super hard, worked myself into the ground for a couple of American banks. Actually, I'm not going to name all the names. Right. That was some tough times, and I fell in. I got adrenal fatigue. You'll know what that is, obviously, Scott. That adrenal fatigue almost became chronic fatigue if I hadn't let it go. Adrenals had packed up 3 months out. That happened, and then fast forward a number of years, and it happened again in the mid 2000s. And that was a different thing. It was heart palpitations and heart problems. And I thought, that's enough, I'm going to just scale back. And then it dawned upon me that sometimes we've got to take action ourselves. We don't just have to wait for people. We've got people like yourself, people who are speaking from their own experience. And that's when we start to listen to the voice of the people that we could trust, and the voice of the inner warrior, not the inner critic, the inner coach who says, hey, you got this. You could do this. You just be patient. Don't try and crush it by going to the gym 5 hours a week if you're not able. Start with 10 minutes a day. Baby steps. What do you say?
Well, I say the same thing. My impact was not so much for me. It did that, but it was compounded by the fact that my parents got cancer in their mid 50s, right? So. And I turned 49 just in a couple months, right, in March. And
amazing, looking well, man.
Yeah.
We're the same age. We're the same age, though. I think I got a year on you.
Yeah.
I'm 49 right now. I'll be 50 this year.
Right, and
so we're doing pretty well, you and I.
Yeah, we're doing good, right? We get good examples for the modern longevitarian, right? It's like
right there for you, right there. Strong for love, strong for longer, right?
Yep, exactly. It really started out. So my parents, my dad got cancer first because he's a couple years older than mom, and so he got prostate cancer, had to go through chemo, and had to have surgery to have his prostate removed. But the compounding piece of that was knowing that his dad, my grandfather, had passed away from cancer at age 62. So
wow.
Then my dad's three best friends, his brother-in-law, who was also an uncle of mine, right, married my aunt. got cancer at the same time. He passed away 60 and a couple months old. And my dad's two other best friends, one had colon cancer. So three of the four had prostate cancer, and one had colon cancer. And so I was able, because I had actually moved to the Caribbean. I was living on U.S. Virgin Island, St. Croix.
Okay.
And, yeah, and I got to look from the outside in and like going, what is the common piece of the puzzle here between these? Because it's not genetic, right? I have the genetic
Right.
piece of the puzzle, right? And what it is like I was able to look at environment, right? They had all been in the military. They'd all been to Vietnam. So I could throw out Agent Orange. I could look at those. I could see that could be a piece of it. But then I looked at their diet and I was like, well, I'm going to start with, because I have control of what I put in and on my body. And I had married my wife to this day. Still, we've been together 21 years, but she was a vegetarian, right? And pescatarian. And so I changed my diet to eat more like she did initially. But I still struggle with my weight. I yo-yoed and I was 40 pounds overweight a couple times. And then a couple years later, mom gets cancer, uterine cancer, and had to have a hysterectomy and those things. And so that was really what started this journey is that I know that, Bruce Lipton's work on epigenetics wasn't out yet really at this time. This is 17 years ago. Now, mom and dad are still around. Mom turned 70 this year. Dad's 72, right?
Living proof right there.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. And so that's the piece of the puzzle, that was like, but how can it really started out with, how can I move the cancer from 55 to like 85 or 95? How can I do that? Right. And that's where Strong for Longer came in, really, like even before the word health span was even out. Right. But how could I just move my prime years out for decades, really was what the original idea behind all the changes I was making. Right. How could I stop the decline? And you don't know this, but you may know this, I don't know, but so in the South, especially the Southeast of the United States, the diet is even worse than the rest of it because we fry everything, right? We deep fry, batter and deep fry everything. So it's just really a poor version of the American diet.
Oh man, yeah, right, yeah. All those states maybe are doing that. I mean, here in the UK, I'm not saying everybody's frying everything, but people are still piling up on stuff that's not the best for them. And the thing is, the supermarkets don't help because supermarkets kind of put, and I'm kind of going into brain psychology a little bit here for a moment. It's an area of my coaching is neuro leadership and
right.
kind of neuro coaching. And what happens is supermarkets know that our willpower is the limiting factor. And so what they do is they put the stuff that's most tempting right in front of this level here.
Yep.
And it's just going to be grabbable from here down to your belly button. If it goes any higher, they did these stats, right? This is not just UK, US stats.
Yep.
If you have something that they want you to get and they put it higher than right here, chances are you won't go for it. But if they make it easy to see, so that's why they get all the naughty stuff, all the $1 potato chips or crisps as we call them, and this and that, the candy or the chocolates here, they put it right there. So you go for that stuff. But the other stuff is like wherever that is, And,
right.
People just weaken now their condition. And so it doesn't help. I think the other part of it is the stress eating. So just going into the psychology part of it, I guess a lot of my clients, they come and they're kind of stress eating. They're comfort eating, they're stress eating. Mm-hmm. Lockdown is causing people to get bored, stressed, immune. All kinds of negative emotions are causing people to kind of overconsume. And then their choices is, you so eloquently state with your works and your posts on LinkedIn, for example, that it's about not just the quantity of food that you eat, but it's the quality and the choices that you make in the food that you eat as well.
Absolutely. When the decision time comes, that's the most important part. It's like, and I interviewed Dr. Linda Ellison. She has a supplement called with Caillou Health. It's an immunity supplement, a wellness supplement, and it has all 19 amino acids in it. And I've been testing that, and it's been going extremely well. So I love her product. But she says it this way. She says that everything is information, right? And so basically, if you decide to go for the crisp, that's giving your body a certain information that it has to process versus if that was raw broccoli, right? You're giving two sets of information to your body to express itself in a certain way. And so I know that you do a lot now. And I trust me, I struggled with alcohol in my 20s as well. Been in the restaurant business for almost 30 years up until COVID hit and those things. And so I lived in high stress, eat high stress. And so I had to figure out how to solve that puzzle while I was still working in the restaurant industry, which is, one of the things that I coach my clients on is how to balance, lifestyle with a high stress environment. So we teach a lot of similar things, but you do a lot to take care of yourself. Like you mentioned, and I've been in a message we had, you are, where did I put this? All right, vegan, no alcohol, intoxicants, smoking, etc. Regular meditation, walks, and some fitness. So tell me about what you kind of nailed down that works for you, and then we can get into other things that, about your stress to success and your course and stuff.
Sure, of course, Scott. And given that I had these experiences myself in terms of my health scares, and one being potentially a life-threatening thing with the heart conditions that I had, I experimented. I'm an experimenter. I like to take things and try them out myself. And so I did try a vegetarian diet, and I found that it was conducive. I found that I lost some strength a little bit, but I persisted, and I wanted to play with what I could do. And going on a vegetarian diet, lacto-ovo-vegetarian to be precise, because I was consuming milk and dairy and stuff like that, it did help me. Once I got over, I think once my body got used to it, I started strengthening up again. And then I found very little difference between my meat eating days and my vegetarian days when it came to kind of being in the gym or lifting weights. And I never lifted a single weight till I was 31. So I was what they call a skinny fat Indian guy, 5'9", belly, but skinnier than everywhere else. There's no strength there. And it's a thing. It's a thing. I'm not saying all Indians, I'm not stereotyping, but it's a thing amongst Indians, and it wasn't a pretty look. And I did suffer for it. But when I was vegetarian, it kind of all turned around, started to get stronger. And then I thought, okay, well, let's play with this whole thing about veganism. And it was not because it was before veganism was such a big thing. And it was, for me, it was more elevation. It was like to see what happened with my meditation and my other practices. So I kind of did it. It helped because my partner, she's lactose intolerant. So she's vegan naturally anyways. And so I thought I will do that. And then that's been 10 years now, 8 years, 9 years maybe now vegan. And I haven't looked back. I mean, I lost a little strength in the gym. Am I a little weaker than I used to be when I was vegetarian? Yeah, a little bit of age as well. But you know what? I'm able to do all the kind of common things and key things that I want to do. And the way it makes me feel, the clarity of thinking, the ability for me to be able to harness my emotions even better when I'm in this kind of diet. Because we know diet and emotions and everything are linked. Yep. So all the benefits completely outweighed the negatives. My cholesterol's like 3.5 combined or something. It's good. My RMR is, my resting heart rate is like 53, 54. And a lot of this just came about through diet change, introducing more regular meditation. And I don't mean 3 hours a day. I'm talking about 20 minutes once a day, sometimes twice a day. That's all. And then the walking. And then the walking is like getting 10,000 steps, whatever I do. Even if it's indoors on a phone call, I'll get my 10,000 in. British weather ain't the best, right? So it ain't, Southeast United States, it ain't that, So it's cold, it's rainy, it's gray. You don't always want to go out, but I just made it a point, man. I'm just going to get 10,000 in every day. If I can bash in 50 press-ups and a few pull-ups, fine. And obviously in the lockdown, there's no gym. So I found that the things that are the core staple mate, and I put to your viewers and to your audience is to practice, is work with flexibility. What can you do? What can you do? Like you said, right, instead of focusing on what you couldn't control, you focused on your diet and stuff for you and your family, right? You kind of focused on what we call that, Stephen Covey calls that the circle of influence, circle of concern. We focus on the circle of control, the stuff that we can control, or the stuff that we can influence, not on the stuff that we're concerned about, that we have no real control over. And I just focused on those things. Can I walk? Yeah. Maybe for you, it's not walking. Maybe it's rowing. You got a thing at home, whatever. Get some physical movement in, 1 hour of physical movement a day at least, then some resistance work as well, press-ups, pull-ups, whatever works for you, your diet, your injury levels, your age levels, but get some resistance in, some cardio, even if it's light cardio, a little bit of anaerobic if you can handle it, a little bit of high intensity, and then just moderating the calories. I don't eat more than 1,800 calories a day. I don't count them, but I just know because I eat the same kind of food again and again. So I kind of know what I'm eating, and my macros are healthily done. And then I have a treat 3 times a week, vegan ice cream, some dark chocolate. That's my crime. And that little simple formula of strength, resistance, cardio, walking, and diet for control has really helped in keeping my weight checked. I'm at 70.5 kilos, for the past year. I lost 5-6 kilos off the back of that, and I feel good for it. That's like 158 pounds or something.
Right.
And it's life's okay at 50,
Yeah, it is, right? 5'9". I range between 165 and 175. I think I do a little bit more press ups or push ups and moving weight than you do. I have a couple kettlebells, some dumbbells, and do that.
Right.
And I like that. And I've been actually moving weight and starting, it was about 16 or 17. I started like lifting.
Oh, half my age then when I was doing it.
Well, yeah, but I was different, right? I was competing in racing go-karts, and there were no seat belts in those, right? And I was racing at a track.
Right.
It was an asphalt oval. So it wasn't a road course like you would have, traditionally like in Formula One or things like that.
Silverstone or whatever, right? Brands Hatch,
so
Silverstone.
Basically, we were pulling so many G's, we had to, work on our strength to be able to hold ourselves in the cart. And,
right. Structure and integrity, right?
Yes, exactly, right. To be able to win, right? So I had that foundation for that. And I'll be honest with you, moving some weight around I think there's two things, right? I think that we need to be, for longevity, we need to be functional and be durable. And with, and I think, and the way I say this, and you do it the same way, if you can handle the higher stress stuff, is with a pinch of athleticism, right? So I
was about to say some kind of agile movement in there as well. I guess that's how I would have said it. It's a bit of agile movement, right? Some kind of movement, right?
Because balance is so important. As we get older, we lose our balance, and that it moves from, in the top 10, causes of death at our age to the top 3 for people who are over 80 years old, right? And so,
right.
And so, if you're getting in front of that, working on your balance now, then you can, it could be something that you don't have to work on as you get later or worried about. And so, I work on all kind of different aspects of that type of stuff, but. And so it's super cool to hear about your whole story and how you got there and how you kind of, I'm the same way. I experiment, right? I experiment with a supplement or I experiment with a workout program, those type of things. And normally on Wednesdays, I slid you into this spot. I call it Biohack Wacky Wednesday. And I go over these human guinea pig experiments that I've done on myself, right? So I'm skipping that this week to have you on the show today. So
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's get a little bit of backstory, because I know that your family moved to London back, I think it was in the 70s, right? But then you got the corporate stuff. I just want to kind of get a little bit background on you, and then we can get into what your course is and your you're doing.
Yeah. So a little bit about my background. It's fascinating here. I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting somebody who does go-kart and the stuff that you're doing. That's pretty fascinating in itself.
I did it for 15 years. Won multiple national championships, was fully sponsored, and
amazing.
And then I woke up one day and had a really good conversation with the Jack Camp, who was the owner at the time. And I sorry to interrupt you, and he said, "How are you going to make a living?" Because there wasn't a lot of money for racing back then, unless you made it into NASCAR or IndyCar or something like that. And a month later, I was in college, right? I like literally that conversation led me down this different trail. And then a year later, I was managing a restaurant, right? And then off to the races, right? Climbing the corporate ladder and managing restaurants. So kind of really what happened.
Which is obviously the other side of you, right? Kind of managing restaurants. There's a whole piece there.
Exactly. Yeah.
What a beautiful contrasting story. I mean, I guess for myself, it was an interesting time because I was born in East Africa. I'm of Indian origin. So my name is Prash, is short for Prashant. Prashant means always peaceful in Sanskrit. Sanskrit being, the oldest known language in the world. It's 8,000 years old. And the name Prashant means always peaceful. It comes from the Bhagavad Gita. And my family are Indian, proud of that. We were in East Africa since the early 1900s, migrated here when Idi Amin, the dictator, the tyrant, expelled a whole bunch of Asians. And then we came to the UK in 1971. I've been here since 72. and grew up in a climate of racism. Back in those days, there was a fair amount of racism. I was a skinny kid, so I got a lot of bullying. Ended up taking up martial arts. Racism, bullying, got into gang fights. Lost my mom. You mentioned about your mom having cancer. My mom got a heart condition at 42, and he just popped it like that at 43. So losing my mom made me a mad lad. I call it. I was a mad lad, angry lad, and I got into gang fights and gangs and a little bit of stuff that I'm not really proud of, but it was just part of my growing up. Sadly, my father turned to alcoholism to cope with the death of my mom, and that kind of created a whole other thing. I was the oldest child. My younger brother was young. So I found myself being a housewife, a big brother, kind of like a dad to my dad, because sometimes he was too drunk to cook or do anything. Mm-hmm. And then at uni, I remember holding down 2 or 3 jobs just to get through university, thinking I got to pay the family debts off, look after my old man and my brother. Somehow or other, I had this foresight to not hold it against my dad, his alcoholism. I thought that's his thing, and that's how his coping mechanism was. And I found spirituality back in those days, philosophy and spirituality, that kind of mushroom from the ancient Indian philosophy and literatures out to Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, philosophers like Emerson and Thoreau, and just starting to become, I guess, a Renaissance man in the late 80s and into the 90s. And it started to really shift my perspective. Now, it didn't make me give up corporate. At the same time, I finished my degree, and I've just spent the past 28 years in corporate with all kinds of investment banks and technology companies and business transformation and project management and stuff. But I never lost my passion for spirituality, purpose, self-growth, self-expression, and helping other people. So I've been involved with charities for 30 years, and I've been a team leader for many people. And that's been my nourishment, to help people out and get involved in that. And so gradually that just carried on. And about 10, 12 years ago, I started doing coaching and consulting as a side hustle, working in organizations and one-on-ones. And I just found the joy of basically helping people out, kind of solve some of their real life marriage problems, health problems, whatever problems. The joy of getting somebody to operate at their best was more joyful than saving $7 million for JP Morgan on a program. That it gave me more fulfillment. And the more I did it, the more I liked it. And so I just started to embrace that more side by side. I didn't have the luxury to quit my day job and just do this. So I just carried on doing that side by side. And then a couple of years ago, as you said, I was fortunate enough to get interviewed on Brian Rose's London Real podcast. And that kind of triggered my journey to get into podcasting. So I that was the birth of urban spirituality. And for the past 10 years, I've been running retreats, wellbeing retreats, wellness retreats around Europe, and taking 30 to 40 people across Europe for beautiful 4-day away days, and then running events. Probably 10, 12,000 people have attended our events in London, like where we do music, singing, meditation, motivational talks. We call it mantra therapy. Mm-hmm. And it's been a fun ride. And then 2.5 years ago, I decided, things have got to change. I watched the documentary. Scott, you know this documentary, Game Changers. Remember Game Changers? Absolutely.
I watched it 3 times the first week. Oh. Right.
Okay, so a little trivia. So James Allen, one of the guys behind the production team, a good friend of mine who is a Hare Krishna in Laguna Beach, and he's a temple president he's the president of the Hare Krishna temple in Laguna Beach. He's good friends with the guy, and I got a hook up with Nimai Delgado, the guy he's one of the guys interviewed on Game Changers, and he came down to London. I got a hook up. I interviewed him for my podcast, Urban Spirituality, Nimai Delgado from the Game Changers documentary. And he said to me during his interview, he goes, you know what? I was earning 6 figures in Bakersfield, California, but I wasn't fulfilled. And so I'll just do my American accent. I love the American. I was just working at this place for I got 6 figures. I got a great view by the office, but I was sitting in looking at the world outside. It wasn't for me. And I just thought, well, geez, what am I doing? Spending 80% of my life working just to get 20% of the things I love? Let me switch that around. What would that look like? And so he said he quit that. I love accents. Yeah. And so he quit. Thank you. And he just quit. He quit his thing. And he goes, I traded my income for impact. And that really hit me so hard that I did the same. I gave up my role at HSBC, and now full time, I just serve people. It ain't the kind of money that I used to make in the city, but my heart's good. And I feel good that I'm making an impact in people's lives, in coaching and training. So it's been a fun journey to get to where we are today.
Yeah. Well, it is a fun journey. We had Nicole. She's a big fan of the show. She said that accent change is amazing, right? So,
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much. I do some funny ones. You know Sadhguru? You know Sadhguru?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah.
I do a Sadhguru one. You want to hear my Sadhguru one?
I do. Yeah, yeah. Do it.
All right, go on, ask me a question as if I'm Sadhguru. Go on, ask me a question. Whatever, any question.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm going to do this on the fly, right? So go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Sadhguru, let's say that if you could give one piece of advice to people how they could find enlightenment, what would you tell them?
You see, first you have to understand what is your definition of enlightenment. Now, you may have one definition, I may have another, and your wife may have another. Even your family in the Virgin Islands, they may have some. But you see, the truth of the matter is that enlightenment is subjective, right or wrong.
Wow.
Right or wrong. Wow. So the real truth is, if you wish to find enlightenment, let me give you a simple solution. Go to your local Radio Shack, find a pair of AAA batteries, make sure that your remote control always has batteries, hide it from your wife and children, and you will find enlightenment through your one-eyed guru in your house called the television. There you go. Sorry, man. When I get bored in the lockdown, what else does a guy do than make up impersonations, right?
Right. You're the second person that I had on. I had a guy named Mitch Marin. He's a recruiter company in here in the States called Goodman Recruiting, and he and you probably witnessed this as well. But I mean, we did like that where I asked him a question as if he was Bill Clinton. And so I went down, it was like 4 or 5 different accents, and I asked him the question as if he was that person, right?
Amazing.
Yeah, and we went through that, and he actually got such great response from it. He's considering doing his own podcast or his own show, and so we're gonna get together. There's so many people who when I started out, I was a guest on 15 different shows before I actually did my own podcast, right? And then and sometimes I talked about health, sometimes I talked about restaurants, and because my first step into that was the Restaurant General Manager podcast. And there's been so many people who've been on my shows that are like, hey, what can I do to get my show started? I want to do a show too. And so I like this forward, right? I reached out to 3 people I stay connected with. They help me, do I get up? I actually probably should get my microphone closer, right? So a microphone, and things like that, right? And but my point being is that yeah, it was like it was way over there. I'm surprised anybody was even hearing me. Does that sound better, guys, out there?
Usually way like that's super. Is that a Yeti? You got a Yeti over there?
Oh, I got the Audio Technica,
ATR. That's an ATR. That's a beautiful one. This is a Yeti over there. It's like proper loud. I kind of just leave it over there. Turn the game.
Yeah. They're different styles. The Yetis actually picks up all the sound, where this one is more of a dynamic, where if the further it gets away, it doesn't pick it up. So
it's it's real crystal right now. It's crystal.
Perfect. But it's so we pay that forward, right? Helping people like do their shows and do that type of stuff.
Oh, that's so good, man. That's such a nice thing, and it's good to know that you do that.
Yeah, and so it's the interesting piece of the puzzle, is with this. Well, first of all, I've worked in California, and that's where I got furloughed from when it hit, and when COVID hit, and I don't live in the South anymore. I haven't lived in the South in almost 19 years now. I live in the mountains of Park City, Utah. So I know we communicated on this was 12 o'clock Eastern, but it started for me at 10 o'clock in the morning. I live at 7,000 feet. It snowed yesterday. It's like I live in a ski resort town in Utah. And so I do a lot of like Wim Hof type, stuff with my shirt off.
Amazing.
And do that type of stuff, right? And I commuted to Salt Lake and worked at, as a director of food and beverage at a hospital and a director of operations at a, 500-room hotel in Salt Lake, and had to every day was driving, through a pass that had a 3,000-foot elevation change and, and those type of things. And so I've had some amazing experiences and doing all of that stuff, living, in the mountains, because when you grow up in a climate that it's in Columbia, South Carolina, where I'm from, their new tagline is famously hot, right? 100 degrees, 100% humidity,
Right.
during the summer. And I moved to a place that has like 12% humidity unless it's snowing. Right. And with, it's just a dry desert, but could get down in the like -17 for 2 weeks in a row in January or something like that. So it's really, really interesting dynamic. But back to Game Changers, right? So one night I couldn't sleep. I was scrolling through Netflix, saw Game Changers. I watched it, and I'm plant-based sometimes, 100% plant-based, mostly, around 90% plant-based. But I've been intermittent fasting for 9 years, been keto for 5 years, and so
yes, wow,
serious. And plant-based keto is kind of a tricky thing, right? Because
it is. Oh yeah,
eat too many plants, you're getting out of ketosis, and where do you get your fat from?
There is one. Well, there is something. I have hacked plant-based keto. I can share you how.
Yep.
I use seitan. So I experimented with seitan, unless you got gluten intolerance. So seitan is wheat gluten.
Right.
And you can get, it's made from vital gluten flour.
Yep.
And vital gluten flour, when you make seitan out of it, which is essentially just adding water and some flavorings, boiling it, and then you get this spongy log. That's seitan. That's essentially that's right. All it is. Made from vital wheat gluten, is about an 85% protein, 3% fat, and hardly any carbs. Right. And so when I did a little keto for a little while, I introduced that into my diet. And since it's 80%, you only need like a 50-gram slab, and you got like 40 grams of protein right there. And then for fats, I was using VCO, virgin coconut oil, avocado oil, and avocados, and a bunch of nuts and almonds and stuff. That was my kind of hack, but I don't think I could have sustained it. Like you say, it's not.
It's hard to sustain. It's really hard to sustain, when you do it. But the thing is that when you look at, when we're bouncing around on different subjects here, but that movie inspired me to really investigate that. There's actually a book, and you can get this. Dr. Will Cole wrote a book called Ketotarian, which is a Ketotarian, which is a plant-based keto book that has like 75 of these amazing recipes in here. It's right down here. I have it right there. You probably, I don't know if you can see, it's right below the line where you can see that. Yep. But when you start combining these things, and what Dr. Victor Longo from the Longevity Diet, he has, this on the very bottom there.
Yeah, Longevity Diet. I've heard of that one.
Longevity Diet. Victor Longo has his fasting mimicking diet, but he says to be vegan 5 days a week, and then you can eat, some meat a couple days a week, because it's really hard to be healthy and be vegan. I was a 40-pound overweight fat vegetarian, right? I mean, it's like, here, I'll show you a picture. Before, right? You want to see a before and after picture. This will blow your mind, right? This is right. So
what?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. So the picture on the left, I'm age 31, right? Right before I moved to the Caribbean. My son's 19. I'm holding my niece in that. She's actually been in the military and now out of the military. The second picture on the right, I was 2 years ago when my dad turned 70, right? So I chopped my dad.
That's when you were 47?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That is the modern day longevitarian right there. That's that's no unacclaimed title. Wow.
Right. Yeah. And so
kudos.
Thank you very much. And I continue to do that, right? Continue to move down that road. And so there are days that I'm 100% plant-based. I mean, there's no butter in my coffee. There's no bulletproof coffee. There's no, there's no butter in anything I eat. And there's just like 100% plant-based. And there's sometimes weeks that I go by like that. And then, then I wear this shirt as a joke, right? Leg day, right? It's got a chicken leg, on it.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah. And where there's days that I do have meat. So I'm very flexible on that, because I try to listen to my body about what I need. And sometimes my brain's just telling me that I need meat because I was programmed as a kid to eat meat. Right. And so those are the things that we have to really be aware of, because we have to be programming in our first 6 years. Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important to be sensitive to that. But that comes back to kind of, one of the cornerstones of, my process in Stress to Success, which is self-awareness, bringing emotional self-control and self-awareness, bringing that awareness back in, awareness is key.
Exactly. So let's see, we have one come in. I'm listening from Bangladesh. So thanks for listening.
Zilur Rahman, welcome. Wow, Zilur Rahman. Welcome, Zilur.
Yes, exactly. And then Nicole asked a question when we were talking about, you were talking about zeatin, is about what about quinoa? And quinoa is an ancient grain. It's been around for a long time. I've had it for multiple years. I've done so many things with quinoa. My wife actually made this really cool veggie burger with quinoa
Mm,
um,
yes.
that tasted almost like a little bit. And then I'll tell you my tofu trick that I learned to hack on tofu in a second after this. But I even in restaurants, I took over. It was really interesting. I was a director of food and beverage at a hospital, and we would put healthy food out, and nobody would eat it. We made this really cool quinoa salad. We'd sell 3 of them. So I had all this leftover quinoa, and I'm responsible for food costs. So like, what can I turn this into, right? So I basically used the quinoa as the same thing as I would do to make a Maryland style crab cake, right? So I
Yeah. Well,
had
you pat
yeah,
it and
exactly, right? So some mayonnaise, some mustard, some hot sauce, some parsley flakes, some egg in there. It wasn't vegan, but it's vegetarian. So a little egg in there, right, to bind it together, patty it together, and then fry it, and make a burger out of it. And I called it the hippie burger, right? That's really what it was, right?
yeah.
And so there's so many benefits to, quinoa and it being an ancient grain and those things. It does have a carb content in it. I believe it's gluten free if I do recall, but it's you can do so many things with that, and you could dress it up, right? You could make like
Yeah.
a Chinese stir fry with it, like rice, and put a little egg in there and do that. If you're vegan, you
Yeah.
can just saute it like you would, any other vegetable, and add some garlic to it, or you could
That's
just
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned this about tofu, right? Take a firm tofu and freeze it overnight, right? Then
Freeze it.
freeze it. Yeah, freeze it in the package with the water and everything. Then thaw it out. And then what happens is it tears and the texture is different, right? Than it would be if you just normally do it. And you could put it in a pan with a little bit of oil in it, maybe a little bit of whatever flour using coconut flour, almond flour, things like that, coated in that a little bit. And it actually will have a very similar texture to like chicken, right? It had this just
I
changes.
used to, this, I'm going to try that tonight, mate. Like it's
Yes.
like whatever time it is here, it's dinner time soon. I'm going to get it in the freezer tonight and I'm
Yeah.
going to try it right there tomorrow. That's a fantastic, but you're going to have to, I guess you gotta let it thaw out. But if you're impatient, because it's going to take a while to thaw out, it ain't exactly warm out there. So maybe would it be all right to pull it out of the,
in the
pull
morning.
it out of the freezer and kind of give the thawing a hand a little bit, maybe in some warm water or something?
Well, yeah, yes, exactly. There's 3 ways you can safely, thaw foods out. One is that you could just put it in the fridge, but that takes the longest. That'd take like, 24 to 48 hours just putting it in the fridge,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Then, there's some things that can be cooked from frozen that maybe come out, like, those type of things. But yes, you could run it under water, like a not a hot water, but I mean, tofu is not going to cook when you actually, when you put it under hot water. So you could run it under hot water, tofu, because it's not going to get a lot of bacteria and things like
No.
that on it, like a chicken would, or if it was
Right.
a shrimp or something, it would cook under the hot water and those type of things, right? So yeah, you could throw it in the freezer tonight. Then tomorrow around lunchtime, just pull it out, right? Put it on the counter, and then you can then press it, whatever you want to do, before you go
Yeah.
make your dinner, right? And then tear it, right? So it just kind of tears in the
Oh,
extreme.
you're talking my stuff. I'm liking it already. It's like pulled
Yeah,
pork or something. No, pulled
yeah,
pork. It's like
yeah,
pulled
exactly,
rib.
right. And
Yeah,
and
I'm all over that, man.
yeah,
I cook. I've been cooking for, well, like I said, my mom died, so I've been cooking since the age of 14. So
right,
I'm no stranger in the kitchen. I can see that happening already. Get some quinoa flour on it. Man, spice that quinoa flour up. A little bit of rice flour to give it a little crispiness right there on the coating.
right.
Boom, a little olive oil, and we're off.
Yeah, exactly.
You got me thinking.
Let me know how it turns out, because I'm excited. That's one of those things that's really cool when you start really kind of playing around with these things. And so I'm actually going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a live cooking show, right? And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
So I literally like start, like from scratch with the camera up top looking down. We have like the whole setup. And so I'm going to do that where it's like maybe on like because I don't eat in the morning. So it's like kind of contradictory
Yeah, I do.
to say, hey, I'm going to do a cooking show at 10 o'clock in the morning and then I don't eat it. Right. I don't, I'm breaking
Yeah.
all the things I say about fasting. So,
which I do as well. Yeah, I don't eat till 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So
right.
yeah.
So me, the normal is like earliest is 2 o'clock, and I push that a lot of times later, right? And
yeah,
so,
right.
that's how I
Amazing.
lost 40 pounds. Was by intermittent fasting 9 years ago, right?
Insane. And people think it's only down to exercise, but it's not. It's like this energy equation, and it doesn't have to be complicated.
Right. So this is how I came up with Longevitarian, right? What happened was I was 40 pounds overweight for the second time in 5 years. So I lost 40 pounds at age 35 by doing the Tony Horton program called P90X. I don't know if you.
Yeah. We know the P90X out here as well. Yeah.
Right. So that was when I
was to Billy Blanks and his whole thing back in the day.
Yeah. So Beachbody, right, was the whole thing and that stuff. So I did that. And then 5 years later, I find myself 40 pounds overweight again. As I went to the doctor, the general practitioner, to take a victory lap on how healthy I was for being a vegetarian for 10 years. And I find out that my scale was off at home by 20 pounds and I'm not 185, I'm 202. Right.
Oh, wow.
Right? And that's the picture the before picture, right? It's like I'm kind of the same, looked the same. And I carry it all like right here in my, it's like in that type of place. Right. And right. And so
I know that. I've been there.
Yeah. And so I was working at the hospital and I started intermittent fasting. And so many people are like, how'd you lose the weight? How'd you lose the weight? And I was working out one morning. I remember I got up from doing push-ups, press-ups. I got up, I'm standing there and I said to myself, I said it out loud. I said, and it's like 4:30 in the morning. Right. And I said, I'm not a vegetarian. I'm a longevitarian. Because I started putting all these pieces together on
Longevitarian. That's how it
all these different things, right? Come to find out, longevitarian.com was already taken. It's actually sent you to a site similar to Blue Zones, and that in the Google search for longevitarian, that there was also in a book in the 1860s. So this is an old word, right?
It is. Yeah, I've heard the word before.
Right. And so I then said, well, what about being a longevitarian in a modern world? So modern longevitarian.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Because it rings true. Yeah, it really rings true that.
Right. Because we have to combat things that our ancestors didn't. Right. You don't have it so much in England or in Europe. Right. But we have to battle glyphosate and astrazine. Right. From, estrogen.
All the stuff that you're taking. Yeah. Yeah. All of them. We don't get that so much.
Right. Or the fact that food coloring is made from petroleum products, right? And we are ingesting these things. And red number 40 induces ADD type things in kids and adults, right?
Yeah, I've heard that as well. We don't use red. There's red lake, blue lake. There's a couple like that. So yeah, right. we don't get those, fortunately, here in Europe. It's banned.
Yeah. So there's and then there's, estrogen producers in our water and birth control in our water. And
right.
They do a good job of getting the big floating things out of the water. But there's chlorine and fluoride and, and bromide in the bread and all these things are really just, and so we have to look at the world.
It is.
Yeah. Than before. Right. And
yeah.
Yep. And so anyway, that's how this all came about, right? And so and I had to figure those things out on my own before there were even books on it or that type of stuff.
Right. Before there was.
Right. Before that stuff was there. So let's transition. Let's talk about you've offering a discount on your course, right? So procrastination to productivity. It's a mouthful,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so let's talk about your course. This little, you said you're a little punchy course. You're offering people that you got running at a 50% discount now, and I put the link in the show notes for if anybody wants to click on that. So tell me about your course.
Of course, sure. And I won't take too much of your time as we head towards the end of this interview, and I hop off as well. It's actually a punchy, short, and very practical course based on my experience in 27 years of corporate, taking the things that actually work versus the things that the books talk about, but don't kind of really work well in real life. And then pulling out the stuff that has worked, which was not really mentioned in a book, and then putting that together. And that became the basis of this course called From Procrastination to Productivity, a guide to get your shit done. Can I say that word? To get your shit done for busy people who are either parents at home or stay-at-home parents, working from home parents, especially during this time, this climate where a lot of us are working from home or furloughed. It's especially useful. It's simple, it's easy, it's practical to do. the practical elements within just one chapter. If you take the first chapter and just follow the simple things of that, you'll be on. The beauty is it's less than 100 pages. It comes with a guide. It comes with a resource sheet and a whole bunch of things that are useful to make it even more valuable. And then what I've done is I've thrown in a signature 21-minute guided meditation, especially engineered meditation, where I use my voice with my annoying British Indian American kind of voice that you're hearing. I use this voice in a beautifully calm way where it goes down to here. And I'd like you to calm your mind and imagine yourself drifting as if you like that. And that's combined with some brainwave entrainment and binaural beats and stuff that you'll be familiar with as modern Longevitarian. And that's a signature program that comes with it. It's 21 minutes. So the whole package is there. It's available. It's like less than $50.
Right.
That's all it is. Less than $50. Go grab it. And Scott, there's a discount there for anyone who wants it. Just go pick it up. It's half price, and just start applying it straight away. We've had people within less than 24 hours read one chapter and say, like some lady from South Africa, somebody from Scotland. I do a Scottish accent as well. And they're getting the use within 24 hours. And so I recommend you guys just take it. It will shoot you and get you into practice really quickly. And the beauty is, I always love this about this, there are tools in there that you could teach an executive and they'll benefit, and you could teach a child or a teenager and they'll benefit. That's the beauty of it. It's applicable to all.
That's amazing, right? And I really appreciate you offering I know you have the discount going and sharing that on the show. I mean, it's an interesting piece of the puzzle, right? Because we are now in an age where people can pull from your wisdom, they can pull from my wisdom, and we can start really putting these pieces together to really move, our species to the next level, right? Because we didn't, and Seth Godin talks about this, that we're in a post-industrial revolution. We're in a connection economy. And, if it wasn't for Damon Burton, right, introducing you and me, you would never have been on the show. I never would have met you on LinkedIn out of the 600 million people that are on there. And I thank Damon, right? I've been on his show. He's been on my show. But Damon was introduced to me by another person I met on LinkedIn, Chef Sean Boucher, who had the Business Chef, an award-winning podcast that randomly, just over 2 years ago, maybe about 3 years ago, put a post on LinkedIn and goes, "I'm looking for guests for my show. Is anybody interested?" And I said, "I am," right? And so I met Sean, became friends with Sean. Sean was my first guest on my Restaurant General Manager podcast, right? And
sure. Okay.
Yep. And that I had, before I did the Modern Longevitarian, I was really focused on coaching people, restaurant general managers, chefs, those type of things. And then I found out when I wasn't in a restaurant every day that I didn't think about it anymore. Right. Right. But what I found out though, when I wasn't in a restaurant every day, I still thought about breathing exercises, working out, a diet, and still optimizing myself. Right. And so that's where I was like, it's the right time to do the Modern Longevitarian, because that's what I'm doing, that, living it and living it today. Right. And, but anyway, you look at the connection that happened, right? Sean puts a random thing up. I happen to see the post. I say, yes, I'm on his podcast multiple times, right? He comes on my show. His friend from high school asked him about how to live, eat healthier and keto. And he said, you got to talk to Scott, become friends with Damon, right? And then Damon introduced you to me, and here we are, right? So,
and I got to thank him. I mean, it's such a joy. And I want to say that all of you who are here watching this on live and who'll catch it on the replay, don't put your success in somebody else's hands. And whether you're a believer in God or not, one thing is for sure: we're powerful sovereign beings. And if we can find tools that'll help us to reclaim some of that internal power, our inner power that we have, find our inner ninja, we're able to start to accomplish so many things that we previously didn't think possible, because we're able to deconstruct the old versions of our stories. And that's why a lot of, the methodology that I use in our Stress to Success, both the one-on-one coaching and the team coaching that we do, is around deconstructing and putting to bed your old story. Otherwise, we can live our whole life saying, I could have lived that life. My old man used to hit the alcohol. He used to beat up on me, and I had gambling problems and this and that. but I want to rewrite the story. And so, when we talk about feedback, I like to use the word feed forward. Feed forward.
Feed forward.
Feed forward. And you know what? I want to say this. For every one of us to make improvement in our lives, from a physical and a mental and spiritual and financial health perspective, we got to learn that we've got to do the heavy lifting alone, but we don't do it by ourselves. I'll say that again. We got to do the heavy lifting, but we don't do it by ourselves. That is to say, we take the support of a coach or a mentor or a mastermind group or a peer group of friends who can support us. This trinity is very, very powerful, but we've still got to be the ones who got to do the work, right?
Yes.
Like what we're doing right here. You're living proof of that, and
right.
You're walking, talking.
Right. Well, we have to have this, and I like you said inner ninja, because I say ninja level self-awareness, right?
Right.
Ninja level self-regulation, right?
Self-regulation. Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because that way, and even sometimes I say I'm the ninja that teaches the ninjas how to be aware and have regulation, right?
I love that, man. I love that.
Because the thing is that you have to like I love what you said, deconstruct your old story, right? What are you telling yourself, right? Like I was so caught up with, I don't know if you heard of the singer Darius Rucker. He was a lead singer for Hootie and the Blowfish, right?
Oh yeah, Hootie and the Blowfish. Okay, I didn't know his name, but yeah, I know Hootie and the Blowfish.
Hootie and the Blowfish, right? So he did a big country solo, and he's bigger as a country artist than he ever was as Hootie, right? And really, really big. Anyway, Hootie did a big tour the summer before COVID hit, and I happened to be in California. I saw him play multiple places, but again, serendipity, right? Got to see on a Facebook group, anybody that likes Hootie and the Blowfish. They met at the same university that I went to, University of South Carolina.
Okay.
In Columbia, and they're really big in Columbia. Like there's roads, streets named after them, and monuments put up for them, and things like that.
Big. That's big.
Right?
Yeah.
Big, right? And anyway, I'm in California. I'm working in California. Said, if you like Hooting the Blowfish, you like singing karaoke. I was in chorus my whole time that I was in school, right? Send me an email. 10 days later, I'm in a car driving through a car wash with Darius Rucker in the back seat playing his guitar on carpool karaoke, right? And,
oh man.
Yeah.
Carpool karaoke, right?
Carpool karaoke, season 3 on Apple, episode 1, Darius Rucker. I'm in it. I got my big mustache, my goatee happening, right?
Oh, come on.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing.
But the thing is that I melted down because I was fear of other people's opinion, right? And so the thing is that, that was a limiting belief that held me back for all these years. And now I'm on episode 69 of a live show, right? And so I had to go through those type of things to get to the point to where I could bring the message of a modern longevitarian to the world, right? And we all have something that is holding us back. And so I love your message that you're saying, deconstruct your old self and then rebuild and feed forward into who you're really supposed to be, right? It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Let's feed forward. I love it. And we've both got the ninja vibe going on. So
So where can people find you online as we wrap this up?
So online, people can find me right on LinkedIn. Go find me, Prash Kotecha, Kotecha, the Wellbeing Guy, Prash Kotecha, Wellbeing Guy. And the website is stresstosuccess.co, stresstosuccess.co. And you'll be able to find me right there. And we have on YouTube, our YouTube and iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Music, our podcast, Urban Spirituality. Go check it out, Urban Spirituality, my name, Prash, and you'll find the podcast. We got a bunch of episodes where we go and discover our inner ninja, rewrite a few stories, and bring in some coaches and mentors to help us in our own inner journeys, conquer that inner empire, as we said. So go hook up, show some love. I'm all over those channels there. It'd be great to connect with you and reach out. And if you want my services for one-on-one coaching, reach out and I'll check with my team what the availability is, and I'd love to serve you guys or your team or your company or do a keynote, and it'll be an honor, especially thanks to this connection through yourself, Scott.
Thank you so much. I don't think we can add any more to the show. I'd love to have you back in the future down the road, as things happen and we open up, and maybe you have a new course you want to push out, or
of course, that's beautiful,
or any of those things. I'd love to help move your cause forward. So
thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks for coming on the show. And thanks for being my special Wednesday guest. And I'm glad we put this together. You go enjoy your evening. My day's just really getting started.
Right.
It's 11 for me, and I'm going to go work out, meditate, and have another cup of coffee and get my day going. So,
amen. Just do me one favor. Keep a room spare. If I decide to come out to Utah, I know where I'm coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I got it ready for you. Just come on out.
It will be a real joy. I'll bring my meditation beads and my electric piano. We'll do some jamming right there.
We will, and we'll go on this really massive hike, right? Like 11 miles in the mountains, right? And just totally enjoy it.
Talking my language, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. You take care.
Take care. And thank you, everybody. So nice to meet all of you. Thank you. Namaste. Yep. Take care.
Take care. All right, folks. Thanks for watching the Modern Longevitarian. And this is episode number 69 with Prash. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. We do have another comment come in from Nicole. And let's see where this is here. Find the right thing. Click on the right button. Right, there we go. And it says that because I didn't want to miss this, right? My recent encounter with God spoke about the right hand. Like Prash said, keep yourself, God, in your hand. And so thanks for watching. And thanks for Nicole also putting the comment up. This is your favorite show yet. Up 69. Tomorrow's show is going to be absolutely amazing. Tune in. We're going to have the founder of the Hemp Association here in the U.S. and in Utah. And so I'm excited to have her on the show. And her name's escaping me right now, but just tune in and I'll do a post about that. And then Thomas Koretzi is going to be on, and he does C-suite leadership, and he wrote a book, and we're going to talk about that as well. So just pay attention for the post coming out, and click the reminder, follow the show, get in, and really tune in for this. Again, my name is Scott Stanfield. I am the Modern Longevitarian, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Cheers. It's time to roll the